my fellow internets. Thanks again to Rommel, netizens of the Hobby Timmy world. We have this to look at today, Rotablade Stubby. Didn't we just look at one of those from Rommel? We're looking at it again. That titanium anodized thing from old Philip. Wait. Oh boy. You guys know what's coming, don't you? Don't you? See? Copper Stubby, see? Should we just do the whole review of like that Bugsy Malone 1920s gangster? It's a copper Tri-Stubby. Look at that, a Tri-Stubby for the copper. Anyway, it's going to be hard not to do that at least a little bit, but I don't think I can maintain it through the whole thing and still say what I want to say and not feel like I'm really just forcing it in there. Oh, look at that. It's got a really nice reflection. Look at that button. So this got on the secondary, so it's, I don't want to say worse for the wear, but there's some little nicks and things here and there, right? Like this little guy right here. It looks worse when you really look at it up close on something like this, but when you're holding it. I should also say, whoops, that's not what we want to see. See what podcast I'm looking to. 43 degrees and fair. It was 28 this morning. It was chilly. So we're warming right up today. It's 12:24 in the afternoon. So so anyway, we're still taking a look at this, right? So it's got a little bit of nicks and dings and that sort of thing when, it's nothing too crazy, but those are pretty minor things and not stuff that we're going to talk about too much today, but I did want to bring it in so you could see it. It's got a nice, close to like a mirror finish. I'm not sure how they finish it. You can definitely still see there's machining marks and stuff like that on it, so I don't know if just the copper that they use and the way it's finished, it kind of comes mirror finished like this, or if someone's done anything to that, because it is secondhand, and then it's like fourth degrees of me getting this, right? Someone bought it, someone then sold it to someone else who sent it to me, so to send off. So copper Stubby, what can we say about it? Well, first things first is I should have brought a Stubby with me today. It feels a lot different than I thought it would. And the same sort of thing goes for the titanium one, but I notice it more with this guy. With the weight is, these arms are a lot more narrower. It feels a lot different. I mean, this essentially is sort of what you would expect in a triform of the Stubby in terms of these dishes and these weights, but it doesn't have the flat sides here, and the arms are a lot smaller, and it just feels it feels very different than what I might expect. Some people ask me like, hey, measure these things, so let's measure it real quick. What do we got there? We got just under 2 inches on the old spin diameter, right? If we hold it up like this, you can see what we're looking at. Oh, did I tilt this? I did. I'm like, why isn't that lined up with the frame of the camera? Jeez Louise. And then about, if you care about the millimeters, about 50 millimeters across. So, it's still a little guy. It has, Rommel loves these. I don't know if he knew that it came with it. I'm pretty sure Stubbies don't by default use these, but that looks like a one drop if I've ever seen one. I mean, it's definitely a shielded bearing and feels like a one drop. So you know what that means. Spin times, we're just not going to care about at all. But if you really want to know, we get about 217 on a table spin and about 251 on a vertical. And I'm sure a copper Stubby with a good bearing is capable of much more than that. I mean, I can get almost 8 minutes, I think, on a vertical spin with my stainless steel Stubby. So let's talk about how this guy is to fidget, though. That's why we're really here, right? Is it worth it? Real quick. Yeah, it balances off just a little, but not a lot. You're seeing that move pretty slow. Again, we've got a one drop bearing in there, but for all intents and purposes, you can feel this minor, you can feel it in your finger, but I don't think you can really pick it up, and it's very, very subtle, but still feels dead smooth. I don't know if that's easy enough to explain or if you guys get what I'm saying, but you can feel there's a little bit of like shaking and vibration in there, but at the same time, it just feels smooth. I'm sure that actually, now that I'm thinking about it and saying it out loud, has a lot to do with the one drop bearing in there. Again, me personally, I throw hybrid ceramic. I like it to be a little looser, but those one drops have tighter up and down tolerances, and not only are they tighter, but with the, I don't know if it's the little bit of lube or what else is going on or the cages that are in there, but it also feels like it moves a little softer as it moves up and down, so you don't feel, it feels like it has tighter tolerances. So, but I'm appreciating those looser bearings these days. But anyway, fidgeting with this guy, I'm realizing that I'm probably going to be making similar analogies as I move forward on this channel with tri versions of bars, as I did with the Axiom versus the Tri-Ax. So it's the same sort of thing here. The Stubby has so much character being a bar spinner and having that bit of judder and bit of wobble, and this is just like a stabilized version of that, which to me, again, I'm really appreciating the contrast, or not the contrast, the character you get with a bar spinner. That little bit of judder, that little bit of, judder, not wobble, is is nice. Nice little warp going on here. But it's comfortable, so it's really nice and well rounded. It is a little flat on these sides, but it is in terms of like there's no chamfer or any serious rounding. It's rounded a little bit, but depending on how you catch that, sometimes it can be a little uncomfortable. But the reality is this is a comfortable, virtually no hot spot all day fidgeter kind of device, but you can still feel an edge there if you like that sort of thing. So if you enjoy having, oh, look at that reflection. You can see the park and the sky. If you like that sort of thing, this is going to do it for you. But yeah, pulls really nice. You've got big, wide, generous cutouts that it's easy to get your finger into, and it's easy to pull off of and to flick off of. So no matter how you like to fidget, I mean, this guy fidgets like a dream. And again, like I was saying before, on the titanium one, it's funny how it looks so different, but at the same time, there is a certain similarities that definitely can be drawn between this and, say, like a Tri-Thrax. I'm sure there's other tri-spinners out there that would have a similar kind of feel, you know, especially in the pulls. It does feel a lot like one side of the Tri-X. I said Tri-Thrax before, right? Not Tri-X. This does feel a lot like a Tri-Thrax. But if you remember from the video yesterday of the bigger cutout on the Tri-Thrax has a very similar feel when you're pulling it. When you're flicking it, it's a little bit different. So nice. And the copper, again, it's well done. Copper, see? It's well done. It's well machined. It looks good. It's a fun little spinner. I feel like we rushed through it, or we've covered just about all we have to say. I guess the negatives I kind of showed there a little bit. The balance, I've noticed that with my brass stubby as well as this copper Tri-Stubby, the balance is off a little. My stainless steel one was perfect. But, oh, look at that. This guy wanted to come in and visit. We'll put you right here. You're famous, Leaf! It's the famous Leaf that became famous as a leaf. We'll see if he blows away. Yeah, low speed fidgeting on this guy is good too, since it was just kind of spinning slow there. It's easy because of this swoop up. It's easy to get your finger in there and like do pulls off the face of the arm. You can't quite preload it quite as well as you would on the corners, obviously, but you can still get plenty of grip and pull off the side. The buttons as well in copper, see? Are actually not that bad. I don't know if because of the material and the softness of the material, it feels like it has more grip, or gets a little more grip than the stainless steel. Again, if you remember, my brass stubby came with 0 few buttons, not the brass stubby buttons, but these aren't too bad. And again, stubby buttons have this little pinpoint, so you can balance it on, like, you know, I see someone does it a lot on a paper clip. I think it's Mark, but I don't know for sure. But anyway, no, Michael de Mesa, I'm pretty sure does the paperclip in here, and show that off. But you can do on a pen, on a knife point, that sort of thing if you want to. So it comes down to, can Hobby Timmy recommend, I think is where we're at now, right? Not a huge lot of negatives. Again, I think the only real negative is the balance in the buttons, and again, the buttons on the copper. See, not that bad. Can Hobby Timmy recommend? Let's sit down so we can bring in the awkward thumbs. We get 1.5 awkward thumbs up for the exact same reason in the Tri-Thrax. This is a good spinner. I dig it, but 99 times out of 100, I would want a bar version instead. I may consider, I feel like it is an iconic spinner, and I feel like in my collection I ought to have a Tri-Stubby. But to be honest, I know for me personally, every time I would go to grab this, there's probably a different Tri I would go to grab, or I would want to grab a regular stubby. And that's just for me personally. But again, I know that there's a lot of Tri guys out there, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, try anything once. So there you have. Oh, that kind of almost looks like a cog or a gear, or oh, look at that. It's sort of like reverse. Yeah, whoa. Double rainbow. I know that had nothing to do with double rainbow, but I just felt kind of like I was in awe of that, much like the guy who was in awe of the double rainbow. But looks good. Yeah, we got a little bit of sunshine out. Not too cold today. Someone was like, I forget who it was, making fun of me for it being cold. I'm telling you, man, 38 degrees, hold a piece of metal for 15 minutes outside and tell me your hands aren't cold. So the rest of my body was fine. You know, we're born and bred for the cold weather up here in Vermont. But we're also smart enough to know when you're supposed to wear gloves and hats. That's part of the reason why we stay warm in Vermont, is because we have winter attire. You know, we don't go wearing our sandals out. Well, some people do. Never mind, I'll be quiet. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm digressing, but such is the case with my channel. But you guys enjoy that, so you like the fast talking, the rambling, the silliness, and we're known for being silly around here, so we encourage the silliness. So there you have it, copper Tri-Stubby by Rotablade. Good old Paul Watson. I should say as well, I think I started mentioning this in another video, and I think it was the titanium video, and I got kind of cut off and didn't mention it. Paul Watson just seems like a great stand-up dude. He had some comments, and I'm not really going to kind of like repeat them and put them on blast or open up that whole can of worms. But regarding the last room standing thing, he had a couple statements, and it's just like, way to go, Paul. Great dude, great guy. So I got nothing but love and respect for Paul Watson over there. I think early on in my channel career, I might have mentioned, the idea of the way they were doing pre-orders early on. I wasn't a huge fan of pre-orders and that sort of concept. And that's just more criticism on the market and the demand and how makers want to get their product out there. But at the end of the day, that's a real minor thing, and I've kind of come around on that thinking a lot, especially with the market dying down. Pre-orders is going to be how we have to do things, I think, a bit moving forward. Talk about a super tangent. This is way off of a Tri-Stubby, but we'll just keep spinning it while we talk about it. But as we get less and less, I don't want to say less and less, like the spinner fad or anything like that is dying out. There's still a lot of people in there. There's still people buying spinners. But when you don't have millions of people flooding in and just buying everything that they can, manufacturers and makers got to be a little more careful, right? If it costs you $50 to make a spinner and you sell it for $75 and you make 300 spinners, you have to sell 200 of those to break even, or my math might have been off. If you make 400, you got to sell 300 to break even. No, I had it right. 200 to 300 versus 50 to 75. That's a 1/3, 2/3 ratio. Just to break even. So then you don't start making profit until you've sold your 201st spinner, right? So if all of a sudden, some maker goes, I'm going to make 200 and then not have a pre-order and just sell them, they're stuck holding, whatever analogy you want to make, they're out there holding it. If you do a pre-order, you know exactly what you're going to be selling, and then you can manufacture it, and then you can get the margins and the pricing better and get better deals for people. So I think where we're at with the demand, pre-orders are a thing that we're going to have to get used to, for better, for worse. You look at what Raj is doing over with the tungsten stuff and getting those prices, and he really does need to pre-order to get that right. So we want him to be successful, and so if we want him to be successful and get us a good product, we gotta wait for it. And you're waiting one way or another. You just either don't know that you're waiting, right? If it takes 4 weeks and then he releases a tungsten drop versus 4 weeks earlier, you're still getting the product in hand at the same time. So well, we really just tangented off, but I dig it. I love it. Love you guys. Love you, internets. Tri-Stubby and Copper RSA. Thanks, Rumble. Kisses.